Good morning, Mike.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Okay, lonely in the office. It's a bit of a big expanse to be a one-man team.
Yeah, 9 months of being sat opposite each other, and we've been separated like twins at birth. Still got the hoodies on though, eh?
It's good to see. Good to see the studies back in action where it all began.
Indeed, yeah. I've got a few little additions. Nope, this way. Have a little cardo up there. So I'm trying to keep it homely. I'm trying to keep it feeling like work. Obviously, a big announcement last night.
Yeah, back to almost square one. Obviously, a few changes to it, but it means people like yourself and millions others will be business people, full-time workers, and full-time educators all at the same time.
Yeah, it's kind of it feels more serious than the November one, because I don't think people took that as seriously as maybe it needed to be. It doesn't feel quite as extreme as the first one, but it does feel that everyone's really got to do their part this time to make this work, I think, is the key message that came from it. Saying good morning to a few people, Mark and Andy. Hello, chaps. Thanks for commenting. Good to see you. So really in this live video, I guess what we wanted to do is just have a few conversations with people, solicitors, surveyors, the banks, mortgage advisors, and then just share with everyone kind of what our expectations are and what this lockdown actually means for people that want to buy, people that want to sell, that want to rent, that want to let, people that are going for a transaction at the moment. What does it mean for your completion day? And how we're going to adapt to things safely as well, I guess. So, I mean, the rules came out quite quickly for us, which was positive. So in terms of viewings, our expectations on viewings, Mike, it's going to be a little bit much of the same, really, I guess.
Yeah, we've been very safe on our viewings all the way through, but the key really is that viewings have to be one-to-one. You can't bring three of your mates, and sellers, tenants, landlords have to kind of get along with that as well, which was much easier in the summer, in that you have to open the property, make sure the windows are open, and then vacate to allow your agent to show that individual the house in a safe way. No multiple viewings, no open houses, obviously still going on. So very much a one-to-one experience, which is kind of our mantra anyway. But viewings still very much going ahead. We do just ask that you're fully financially qualified and proceedable prior to viewing.
Yeah, I think that's key. What you mentioned at the end is no kind of serial viewers as such. You really need to define what you're after and create that short list and chat to the agent, maybe find out the vendor's onward movements, be honest with your budgeting, and just make sure that if you are viewing a property, it makes sense to view it. It's not just let's go and have a look because we're in lockdown and there's nothing else to do.
Yeah, very struggling to buy at the moment, I think.
Indeed, yeah. Morning, Irene. Morning, Chris. There is a blog on our website. The link is here below, avocadoberkshire.co.uk. If you look at the blog page, you will find can I view a property in Tier 4? Effectively, the guidelines for us are the same as a Tier 4. So just to summarise on what Mike said, 2 households only. The agent is a household, the viewer is a household, the vendor has to leave the property. You can't bring family or friends with you. Masks, obviously everyone wears masks, and if you are someone that is exempt from wearing a mask, please just let us know prior so that we're expecting that. Shoes come off, wear socks. If you haven't got socks on, we don't really want people around barefoot, so we'll bring shoe covers, but try and wear socks. I don't think anyone in this weather will not be wearing socks, although I do know a few old estate agents that sometimes wear them without socks on in their suits, which is a whole nother Zoom video altogether. PPE, obviously gloves. We're going to have our gloves on, so we'll move and open cupboards, social distance where possible, and if you've got obviously symptoms, don't come to the viewing. What about valuations? I mean, we've said we've got 2 options for valuations, really.
Yeah, we've been running 2 options again all the way throughout. If you're just looking for a price, you're looking for some advice, we're happy to do it over this type of media. So you can show us around the property. We'll provide a 9-page property report through a data provider that we use, and we can be very, very accurate. We know the properties All of the guys, Ian, myself, 16, 17 years deep in experience, and all of the partners very, very similar, some even more. So a lot of them, if you're just looking for a price, if you're thinking about remortgaging, if you're thinking about converting a garage, which is quite big at the moment, feel free to show us around over FaceTime, over Zoom, and we'll have a chat and discuss it. If you are still seriously thinking about moving, then again, face-to-face is still the main option. It's still open to you. But again, the same kind of principles really exist as if you were looking to view a house: is be safe, be sensible, continue with social distancing, continue with PPE, continue with ventilating the house. We'll be sensible. We're trained in it. We won't be touching anything that we don't need to touch. It'll be up to you to show us around the house, and we'll have a full and frank discussion about it. And what the ongoing process is of selling the house.
Absolutely, yeah. It's a bit of common sense on that basis, I think, isn't it? But you know, we're set up for virtual options, virtual valuations if people need them. Saffron, one of our vendors, has just put a quick question into the chat box, into the comments about completions. The understanding that we've got talking to solicitors, as far as we're aware, everyone we spoke to just carry on as normal. Banks the same. They're trying to do virtual desktop valuations rather than surveys where possible, but they are still doing surveys, although they're a little bit backed up. But on the actual completion day, the only change to the regulations that I saw through the, I think, 22 pages of notes that I read yesterday, was that you can't have two households doing the completion. So effectively, you can't call in family and friends unless they're in your bubble to actually help you with the move. So the regulations around kind of removal companies will have their own concept, and talk to them, because I would imagine they've all got their different regulations to each business. But in terms of actually calling in family and friends for help, then that's something that you're not meant to do, basically.
Avoid it unless it's absolutely necessary or desperate, but to use a professional moving company, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people will, and always do, you know, rent a van and try and do as much of it themselves as possible. If, Saffron, obviously in your case, you're going to need someone else to help carry things, then that's a different conversation altogether. That's where you might need a professional to come in and take care of that part of it for you. Helen just has chucked a question in there as well. Morning, Helen. Any news on the stamp duty changes? The lockdown hasn't forced any changes to that. I don't see that it's going to cause any issues with the stamp duty deadline on the 31st of March, in my opinion. And we've always said that we would expect some sort of announcement around that, probably February in reality, just to keep everyone calm until that point. I mean, we've gone on record, Mike, and we believe it won't be extended. You know, that's the view that we've got on it, is plan that it won't be extended. If you've got a completion going through a transaction and you think it's going to hit that timeline and you're going to save the money, fantastic. If you're agreeing sales now to a buyer, or you are a buyer that's looking to offer now, it's going to be touch and go. You're going to have to use a really good solicitor, really good mortgage advisor, dare I say it, a really good estate agent. But we haven't heard of any extension, any step, any changes. And the only news that we had from the petition, Mike, was the conversation we'd had with Sanjay, really, the fact that it won't be extended.
Yeah, it looks unlikely. It looks like something that was put in as a stimulus. The stimulus worked to restart the housing market and to pull back all the lost transactions. That's happened. So from the government point of view, there's no reason to extend the break in the tax. There's still people who want to move regardless of it. It's been a good stimulus, but if they extend it for another 3 months, and they'll just get the same situation in 3 months' time of people saying, oh, we're going to miss it, can you extend it? And then it becomes perpetual. So at some point it's got to stop. So yeah. I think it will stop at the end of March. Whether another stimulus comes in, we don't know. It's likely. There's always something in the housing market to push things on. It's a very important part of the economy. But I think if you're planning for stamp duty, yeah, the one thing from today onwards, the one slight uncertainty with the market is how quickly searches will come back. because more and more people working at home means that searches potentially from local authorities will be slower.
Yeah, and they're not set up and adapted to this type of style of working. You know, they're very much HQ centre hubs, so working from home, you know, does slow everything right up. But no, I think exactly the same. We did a lot of local business chats, and you mentioned it all started in this office. It did, and in this office we were doing a lot of Zoom chats with local businesses, and I think as estate agents we're also marketing experts. I think that's one thing that's fair to say. We've spent tens of thousands of pounds in social media advertising since we've launched, and we're trained digitally in marketing. So if you own a local business and you're a local business owner, small, you know, it must be local, get in contact with us, and we're happy to kind of jump on and help promote your business and give you a bit of advice on how to get the best reach around the video, what to do with it, where to put it. And it's a platform and an opportunity for almost a podcast style chat, much like we're doing now. And, you know, we love the local community. We're in the local community. I grew up in Sandhurst, lived in Warfield. I live in Crowthorne now. Mike, your background's Wokingham. You're in Warfield now. So we're very much part of the Berkshire community. And if we can help local business owners get a little bit of promotion, whether you're able to operate now or not, or you've changed the way you operate. Some people on our page will have seen them before, and we love to help people. So just get in contact. We'll schedule a chat like this, and we'll try and get your business out there and try and get your own personal brand out there a little bit and offer some support to those small local businesses in the area, really. So get in contact, drop us a DM. Our website's there. There's an inquiry form on there if you want to send it. If you've got our mobile numbers, drop us a WhatsApp. That's how we operate most of the time. I guess the other thing is if people need advice regarding property, you know, we're here, we're available. As Mike Robson's title says there, lettings expert. So, you know, whether it's a landlord, whether it's a buyer, a tenant, a vendor, just someone that wants to know a question about property. We've got, you know, 3 decades worth of experience plus between the two of us, plus all the other partners that are on board. You know, there's 11 of us now that are operating in this bespoke way. There's not many answers there's not many questions we won't know the answers to, I don't think. What about 2021, Mike? Sort of, let's put lockdown to one side. What's kind of new 2021? You know, I think there's 3 things that we could probably discuss quite quickly to help people with a bit of confidence, maybe. But, you know, I guess stamp duty we've covered. That's one of them. What happens next after that? Point 2 is the 10% deposits returning for first-time buyers. And we spoke about that a lot, but what's kind of your view on that?
Well, it's a big thing that you've seen is you've been marketing a few properties that are absolutely down a first-time buyer's street. And what we saw through Christmas was around about a third of the buyers registered were registered with a 10% deposit. And that wasn't possible 4 or 6 weeks ago. So just before Christmas, the big banks, Halifax and a lot of them followed, brought out new 10% deposit mortgages. And that's something that only really specialist lenders or the occasional lender are dipped in and out of for a week or for even 24 hours at some point. So it was really, really positive move from banks like Halifax to say, yep, we're back in the 10% market. We're supporting first-time buyers. One of the stimuluses that has been mooted by Boris Johnson was 95% mortgages to replace parts of the Help to Buy and the stamp duty holiday as well. So it looks like the first-time buyer market will be supported this year, and it looks like from the amount of registrations that we saw over the Christmas period who are first-time buyers, that there's a lot of enthusiasm from first-time buyers to buy when the products are available. So 2021 looks like it'll be another year where first-time buyers are brought back in. It seems to be it's forever cyclical. You have a year for first-time buyers, and then a year for investors and movers, and then a year for first-time buyers. It feels like last year maybe first-time buyers were pushed out a little because there was very little lending for them, and this year it's gonna flip back.
And I think that helps people if you've got property, let's say sub 400. I think it's going to help those people because we did see that split in the market when stamp duty came in and premiums at 5 to 7. and a volume, a mass influx. I mean, Bracknell, you know, where our HQ is, typically the 3-bed terrace in Bracknell is somewhere between 300 and 350. And there was a whole horde of those came on the market over a 12 to 14 week period, which actually was a negative impact in those prices. But I think the hope is that with the first time buyers returning, those prices they'll kind of counterbalance back out at the start of this year. That's what we maybe would expect. Nationwide, most of the building societies and the banks do their own report, but Nationwide brought out their report yesterday for the end of year for 2020. Quite interesting stats in there. They publicise that it's the highest growth of property prices annually in 6 years, which no one would have expected that at the start of the year. So the highest growth in 6 years, and the annual change came in at 7.3%. So across the UK, there was a 7.3% increase in the UK average house price. That's quite a significant jump. I mean, we've been doing it for a few years, and you don't often see something like that. I mean, you would call that a boom in reality.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you put it in context, you know, it's the highest of 6 years. 6 years ago was probably the biggest increase in prices that I've ever seen as well. So to be coming up against those sorts of increases is massive, and all for different reasons why people are looking to move, because they're suddenly in their houses more and they see a different need and a different requirement really for where they're living.
Absolutely. So you know, I think what people have to put into context as well, I know people get frustrated as house prices go up. When people are looking to buy a property, it's kind of the price of the property in reality is actually irrelevant. It's the affordability. Can you afford it monthly? Can you afford the loan? And as people's their ability to borrow more increases, or the bank's interest rates drop, or the option to get a smaller deposit is there, it all comes down to affordability. And if the interest rates at the moment are super low, which they are, and people can lend, then the price is kind of irrelevant. And that's what's quite interesting about the property market, is what will we actually see happen if people can afford to buy at premium prices, average prices, whatever it may be. So as the house price growth goes up to unseen territory, it all comes down to, can people afford it? And if people can afford it, they'll continue to do that. And we know we sit on an island and we're under housed in reality. So the supply and demand will be hugely impacting on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, put in context, the first property that I ever bought, which would have been about 2008, I think the interest rate was 5.95%. If I did that today, the interest rate would be about 1.5%. So it'd actually be cheaper for me to own that property now than it was 13 years ago.
Yeah, I had the same.
More expensive. It cost me about £70,000 more on paper, but month to month, it would cost me less to live there.
Yeah, I had exactly the same with my first house. 2-bed in Forest Park, had a 6.3% interest rate on it. £700 a month, I think it was, on a mortgage not far off £100,000. And like you say, it's cheaper to buy a property with more money, and that's what it comes down to. It's the affordability, not the actual price itself. So we know everyone's got a lot of challenges, obviously, with the kids not going back to school or not being able to go to school, homeschooling as well. I've got an hour of that booked in a second, which will be exciting.
What are we learning today?
I don't know yet. I've got to open up the school email and find out what they want me to do. But I have to upload it and show evidence that I've done it. Not me personally, obviously, a 4-year-old.
Do your homework.
So yeah, as long as it's not spelling, then I'm going to be okay. Hopefully I've got maths today and I'll be fine. People have got challenges with kids. If you do want to view a property, what I've seen people doing is one of the husband or wife goes to see the house, the other one waits in the car with the kids and then swaps over. That's an option if you've got young kids. Someone can go do a FaceTime. You know, we're happy to do that as long as the vendors approved it. FaceTime viewing themselves so they can show their partner if they're really interested. We can book a safe second viewing. There's options around a lot of things, but talk to us. We're happy to help. Hopefully everyone's found this morning quite helpful. We appreciate the comments and everyone that's watched. The video will obviously put on a few different platforms for people to grab later on if you've missed it today. So if you're not watching live, still ask us questions and we can answer those throughout the day. Mike, have a good day without me in the office. I don't know who you're going to chat to. I've got my little avocado there to keep me going. And yeah, good to see you, bud.
Speak to you soon.
See you later.
See ya.